COMCHECK. What's a COMCHECK? You have COMCHECKs, EFS checks, sometimes they say COMData, Fleet One checks. I can't think of, there are other checks there as well. So these checks are very cool. Some people don't like them, because they, they give you extra work, but they're a nice way of paying someone without a personal check or a business check or ACH or credit card. So usually they're connected to your fuel accounts. Usually, it doesn't have to be, but usually they're connected to your fuel accounts. Like with me, I use Fleet One cards, and they come with RTS discounts. And you can, in description here, you can see a contact where you can get those fuel cards. But with Fleet One cards, nowadays they work with EFS checks. They used to have Fleet One checks. They were okay too. They were good, but now they work with EFS checks. So if I'm paying for a lumper for unloading, or you can pay for fuel this way, and you can pay for repairs. Some shops will not take credit cards, or you don't want to use a credit card for a repair. Maybe you don't have the funds available, or whatever the case is, you can use these EFS checks to pay for these services, and the fuel company will usually charge you a small fee for using them, like $3-5 per check. So you log into your account for COMCHECK, COMData, EFS, Fleet One, and then you go to produce a check, and you put in the amount number and like a description for what the check is, so for your own records, so you can later locate it and see what was used for. And then you issue the check. You click like the submit button, and then it generates a code. Sometimes they call it a money code, and then you give that to your driver, and then driver puts it on the check. And what that lumper or shop does, they call a phone number. There's a phone number, and they put in the check number, and then they say like what's the amount. They put in the amount, and then they ask for that money code that you gave to the driver when you approve that check on your end. And then once they type in the money code, when they call them, and they can also do it online too, then they say like the check is approved, let's say $800, and now this is a legal check that's worth $800, and they can just put it in their bank. So that's the way it works. And then the balance on your end, they will charge you, like Fleet One does with me. They charge me every Monday for my balance for my fuel that my drivers got the previous week, and then they would include this charge of $800, and they would charge me and all that. So it's a good thing. If you don't have a lot of funds available, you can postpone that payment. Like if you use a credit card or debit card, they charge it right away. But with these checks, like if today is Wednesday, and then you issue the check, you can still use that money. They will pay using the check, but it will not be deducted from your bank account until next week or so. So that's what it is. Lumpers. Lumpers are services that unload trucks. So especially if you go to big DCs, they have a lot of this in the food industry. So usually you back up to a dock, and then a person comes out. They either use a pallet jack to pull out the pallets, or a high-low, forklift, but people call it high-low. So they use a forklift to unload it, and they sign the paperwork, and you're done. But some of these companies, they don't use their own employees to unload their trucks. They hire contractors to unload your trucks, and they are called lumpers. So these companies, basically, there are like 2 or 3 big lumper services all over the United States, and there are some smaller ones too, but they have a lot of people working for them, and they assign their crew, like 20 people or more, to that warehouse, and they send them over there, and they say like, you're gonna unload trucks for them, but they're not gonna pay you to unload that DC. Drivers will pay you to unload. Essentially, this fee is carried over to the original customer. Whoever pays for the load to transport that load, to the broker, and then the broker pays you. They will pay for that lumper fee at the end. So you're not paying this out of your own pocket. You will pay for it at the time of unloading, but you will get reimbursed for that fee. So driver goes to there, and they say, okay, this load has 20 pallets, and then we have to pull it out. We have to break these pallets. They have to sort them out, like depending on the product, whatever is inside, and they break them, these pallets. So that means like you may have one pallet and with like 20 boxes on that pallet, and there might be like 2 or 3 products, different products there, or even one product, but they need to sort it out or assign it to different stores that it goes to. So they put all like 5 boxes on this one pallet, they put 10 boxes on this pallet, so they call that break it down. And these lumpers, that's what they do. They take out the load, and then they assort these boxes, to whichever way they were told to. But then they charge money for this, and usually these charges are anywhere from like $50 to like $500. Usually like a couple of $100. But sometimes they have these ridiculous high fees too. So they come up to your driver and say, okay, this load has this many pallets, this many boxes, and it will cost this much money. It will cost $150 to unload it. You need to pay it now before we start unloading. So the driver can use their own cash. Some drivers will not do this. Some drivers will do it. Depends on the driver. They will use their own cash. More and more of them now are using debit cards or credit cards, and they have apps. I can't remember. There was a popular app that they're using, so you can pay it with an app. You connect your credit card and then you pay them with an app. But they need to collect a payment. So if the driver does not want to pay out of their own pocket, they will call their company. If they're driving for someone else, and then the dispatcher will issue them a check, like EFS check, like we were talking about before, and they will give them the code, and they will give it to the lumper. The lumper will call in the code, and then make sure the check is okay, and now they can start unloading you. And that's how lumpers work. Sometimes even brokers will pay, like you can call up the broker and say, hey, there's this lumper fee, and can you pay for it? And then they pay. It's easier for everyone if the broker wants to pay it. But if you have to pay it, or if it's like you can't get a hold of the broker, you just want to do right away, you don't want to wait for the broker, you pay it right away, you get the receipt from the lumper. They always give you a receipt, and then these $150, your driver will send you that along with the bill of lading. They may take a picture or whichever, or mail it. And then when you invoice the load, you add this extra fee on top of that invoice. And then if the load was $1,000, you add $150, and now you invoice them for $1,150. Keep in mind, some brokers want you to tell them, like when you pay the lumper, you should always let the broker know. Just email them or call them, say, hey, we paid the lumper fee for $150, and sometimes they will say, just put it on the invoice, add it to the rate confirmation, or they may send you a new rate confirmation that states that, and then you're all set, you're legit. You can go ahead and invoice it. One more thing, sometimes companies, these lumpers or the DCs where they're delivering will have an option for your driver to unload the load themselves, and they will say, hey, it's either you pay lumpers $100 or something, or you unload it yourself. And then sometimes they can give them a receipt that showed that the fee to unload was $100, or driver can produce a receipt and like a piece of paper, or you may have something in your office, and then you just put in the lumper charge was $100, and then you charge the broker for that, and then you pay the driver back, so they make some extra money like that.